Hi, this is Allison Arngrim. Yes, Little Nellie Oleson from Little House on the Prairie, and you're listening to the FSF podcast.
Welcome to the FSF podcast. Our guest today is a longtime actress and author. She began her acting career around the age of 12 and became the girl that America loved to hate, Nellie Oleson on Little House on the Prairie. Her book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, is now available, and details of the highs and lows, both professionally and personally, that she experienced as a young actor. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Thank you. You know what's so crazy? I always tell people this. I started on Little House at 12. I actually started acting when I was 5. And I worked quite a bit, did a movie when I was 10, but then I wasn't working when I was 11. I didn't book. And my father actually sat me down and said, you're not booking a lot, so, you might not work again till after 18 or possibly not at all. So I was washed up at 11. So actually Little House on the Prairie was my comeback.
I honestly...
my second career.
Well, thinking about it, I'm like, as an 11-year-old, 11-year-olds are so awkward. I can't imagine.
Right. And you hit that awkward age. So if you're not getting work right then, you're probably getting it. And that the teenage years are really hard for child stars because they'll work as a little kid. And then, you hit like 14, 15. If you're tall or you look older, they'll just get an 18-year-old. So I got really lucky. I got Little House, which went from 12 to 19. So during the entire awkward period, I was gainfully employed. Hey. But it was hilarious. I was all over at 11. Yeah. So Little House was
not many people can have a comeback at 12, but
12, right?
That is impressive.
Blueberries in my teeth. No, I do. Okay.
Oh, you're good. So, we actually like starting our show, getting to know our guest a little bit better. And, starting out acting that young, what got you into it?
Well, my whole family were in show business. It's true. My mother, you actually all know who my mother is. My mother was the voice of Casper the Friendly Ghost. She was Underdog's girlfriend, Sweet Polly Purebred. She was Davy of Davy and Goliath, and yes, Gumby. My mother was everybody. She was like the cartoon lady. And my father, when I was a kid, he was managing Liberace and worked as a manager. But they had met in the theater. My father had been on Broadway. My mother and father both on stage, radio. So the whole family was in show business. I thought everybody was in show business till I was like 7. And so I started working as a very young child because it seemed normal. Everyone I knew was doing it. I was living in Hollywood. And as I said, and then I was working okay. And then, I really slowed down at 11. So I was very excited when it was so insane. I read for the part of Laura. I read for the part of Mary. Totally. Yeah, I did not get those. Thank God. And then I go in, I read. I didn't know. I hadn't read the books. I didn't know there was an Nellie Oleson. I did not know. I did not know there was an Nellie or anything. But I get there and they hand me these sides. And I start looking at the pages. And I turned to my father. I said, this girl's awful. She's a bitch. And my father said, what? I said, well, she's terrible. He said, okay, read. I read these scenes for my dad. He's laughing. He's like falling over laughing. Don't rehearse it. Just don't change it. Don't touch it. Don't do it. Don't rehearse. Don't even look at. Put the pages face down. Don't even look at them. Just go in and do that. I'm like, okay. I'm so shocked. I go in and there's Michael Landon and the producers and I read this thing for them and they said, could you do it again, please? They're laughing again, hysterically. They said, could you read it again? I said, what do you want me to change? I said, nothing. Just read the thing about the house again. So that my home is the best home in all of Walker. So they went bonkers and I was hired on the spot. By the time we got back to the house, it was like wardrobe fitting is Tuesday. It was over. It was like they were scheduling my wardrobe fitting while we were in the car. They called my agent. My agent made a deal and was scheduling things. And like I came in the door. It's like, I've already made the deal. This is how much you're getting. And you're getting the clothes. You're done. You're going to work next week. Boom, done.
That is amazing. That is such an amazing origin story for who became such an iconic character, such a...
And then I'm there for like forever till I'm 19. So it was like, I went from like having no job to having the job. It was, it was crazy.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine being in the room with Michael Landon and the other producers and just being like, okay. I would have cleaned up.
It freaked people out because it was really, it was, Kent McRae and he did from and Michael, who everyone knew from Bonanza. He was hugely famous at that point. It was not like people didn't know who he was. And I wasn't like a Bonanza fan. I knew who he was, for God's sakes, because my parents, we sometimes watch Bonanza because Lorne Greene, who played Michael's dad in Bonanza, was the voice of the CBC, the big radio in Canada, radio and TV. He was a famous Canadian actor. So my parents are like, the voice of the CBC is the all-American dad on the Ponderosa. This is hilarious. So I knew who Michael was, but it was crazy. And he did that a lot. I mean, everyone has these crazy audition stories from Little House. The audition stories are hysterical. They're all brilliant because Michael tended to go, "Yep, I'm done. You're hired." And sometimes they'd have to go, "Shh, we don't know. We have to go to network. What? I can't just hire them now." And he would just like go, "I'm done." And if he could get away with it, I never read for network. He got away with that one. He just went, "I'm done. She's hired. Send everyone home." And so I did it. But like even Charlotte Stewart came in and blew them. People have these wild audition stories. Where he actually said, "Well, I think you're hired, but wait, I got to make a phone call." And people just, Pat Laberto started work like that day. I mean, it was just crazy, crazy stories. I mean, because he was like, "Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, I'll have her, him, that girl, and that guy. Okay, I'm done."
It worked. He had the magic because, I mean, it's celebrating
exactly.
its 50th anniversary this year, which
Tell
is
me about
incredible.
It's insane. Okay, if you ever told us 50 years ago that anyone would be watching the show, or that there'd be this celebration where people would be like really into it. No, we had no way of knowing. They didn't even have cable TV when we started the show.
Right.
There was
Right.
no cable TV. You had the afternoon reruns. You had syndication, like summer reruns. That was it. What's a DVD? What's a VHS? What people are going to watch old show? Why would people watch old shows? And
Right.
no clue. And now it's everywhere. People are watching on their phone. It's streaming on Amazon. It's ridiculous. It's in 140 countries. We had absolutely no concept that this was going to happen. Michael did. Michael told everybody, they'll be watching these shows after we're all gone, long after we're gone. And everyone he told that to was like, "Ha, he's crazy." And
Sure.
didn't believe him. They went, "Oh, that's a nice thing to say." But then, and here we are. Well, I just looked. Okay, my AARP magazine. Yes, I get AARP magazine because I'm 62 years old and my husband's older than I am. You bet. AARP. You get discounts. You get discounts. Damn it, I signed up. People are like, "I don't want an AARP." Are you crazy? 15% off. So I have the magazine, and it's listing all the shows that are having their 50th. Happy Days has a 50th. Chico and the Man has a 50th. All these great shows. Happy Days is having some party. We had an event in Simi Valley, California in March where 18,000 people showed up to meet us.
Yeah. That is absolutely insane.
There are shows where big hits in 1974 and 18,000 people are not lining up to see them on a weekend. Nobody's dressing up as them for Halloween. I don't know. Little House.
Those shows don't have that longevity that Little House has. I mean, that show was 50 years ago. I'll be 32 this summer. I grew up watching it.
Because I was working before you were born.
My parents introduced me to it. I'm introducing my daughter to it, my 5-year-old daughter to it. There's
people passing, or they're passing it on to the generations. Pete, I love Chico and the Man, but people generally don't sit down with their grandchildren. Now you must watch this show, Chico and the Man, that we grew. It's not the same kind of thing. And Little House gets passed on generationally as a family tradition, and that's why we're on our 7th generation of viewers. It's absolutely crazy.
And it is one of those things that my mother-in-law lives with us. So it's hey, so grandma will agree to watch it. Mom and dad are okay watching it. Give it a shot. I think you're going to like it. And she loves it now.
I've met people and they'll say, "Well, my mother watched it. I watch it. My daughter watched it. I don't think my granddaughter watches it." And the granddaughter says, "I watch it on YouTube on my phone."
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is watching it, and they're streaming it. They're all watching it in different ways. People are binging it and watching many episodes at a time. And then during the pandemic, when 2020, people started turning to the Ingalls to see how to survive and make bread.
Because there is the quarantine episodes, and
2 episodes: Plague and Quarantine.
Yep.
Who had an episode?
Yeah, I remember we were less than 2 weeks into the lockdown.
And you're like,
when we watched the quarantine episode, and I'm like, how are we going to do this? At least we have internet. They didn't have internet.
They had no internet. And do you remember when some of the stores in the big cities ran out of flour because everyone decided to make bread? Why do you think that was?
Exactly.
And it got really bonkers also because people suddenly stayed home and watched it. They started going, "I didn't notice this before." And they got really. So Snoop Dogg is on Twitter and he's just seen the episode with Todd Bridges where they're talking about racism and slavery. And he's like, I had no idea Little House on the Prairie was this like cutting edge modern, that Michael Landon was woke and aware of like Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter. What is happening on this show? Todd Bridges is saying all these things about would you want to live to be 100 as a black man? And it's mind blowing stuff in 1976 or whatever that episode was. And people on Twitter going, I'm now watching this going, I had no idea this show has really heavy topics.
It
And all
really
of a sudden,
does.
we had a whole new audience. We had a whole new audience. I went online, started reading the books on Facebook because I was bored. And I said, hey, you're all bored. I'm bored. Let's read the Little House on the Prairie books. It'll be fun. Suddenly I have several, there's like 50,000 people watch me read the what is happening? I said, let's do cooking videos. 5,000 people watch me make scrambled eggs. I was like, you guys really are hard up. So it turned into a thing. I have a YouTube channel now called Who's Going to Do the Cooking, all about my cooking videos. I now have people, because I read every day straight for like 2 years. I just kept going over 600 times. And so now I meet people to say, I was having a really hard time during the pandemic. I couldn't get a house. I was, I had people who were sick. I lost my job. But, at least every day for a half an hour, I watched Allison read a book, and it was okay. It's like, I've had people come and thank me. Thank you for sitting there and reading books every single day. Like, it was crazy.
Love that so much.
But
So, as we talk about Little House, and I mean, there's no way around it. We have to talk about Nellie Oleson, because who doesn't? I mean, I will say on some level she is my favorite character.
Thank you. I'm so happy. Do you see how much Nellie's
horrendous?
There's a poster. There's a doll. I have the doll. I have the. Yeah. Hello. Duh.
She's an awful character. She's everybody's worst nightmare moving into a new town and a new school, but she's so much fun.
Doesn't everyone see? This is why the show's still a hit, and 50 freaking years later, 140 countries. I meet people from other countries, Sri Lanka, Borneo, Colombia, Israel, Iran, Iraq, and I'm like, but how? What does this mean? A bunch of American blonde, blue-eyed pioneers in covered wagons. What? There's no prairie in your country. What? And they say, oh, everyone has a Nellie Oleson at their school. Everyone has a Mrs. Oleson at their job.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We all get it. They said, yeah, you guys, all these Americans in their covered wagons. They said, but we all wanted to have a pa like Pa and a mother like Caroline. We wanted that. And the teacher and Miss Bill, all this, the values and the family. Mm-hmm. And they said, look, most people aren't living like these people on TV, on these sitcoms with these giant 5-bedroom houses. How are they affording any of this? And they said, no, you got a family living in 2 rooms, essentially, with a lot of children wondering where the next meal is coming from and how they're going to make it through the next flood or famine or whatever locust. They said, honestly, you go around the world, that's how more people are living than not.
That's true.
So we can get into that. Oh, look, their house is smaller than ours, and they have even more kids than we do. Wow, how they're going to make it through the week, and worrying about will we have enough to eat, and what will we do with that terrible woman at the store? They said these are things people can identify, and somebody always dying or being born. They said we can understand this. They said your other shows are you're all talking about weird things we have no idea what people are on about, but Little House we get.
Right. And it's true. Everybody has a Nellie Oleson. Everybody had that mean girl that they had to deal with in school that thought that they were better than everybody else. And it was hard.
I used some of them. There were like 3 or 4 girls, especially one, but there were a couple others. I threw them in where I went, that's just like what she would have done. So I kind of went, I think this is a moment where I should try to and I did kind of send up a couple of the girls who'd been mean to me at school. Okay. I got the opportunity to do that. And it was kind of fun because there was one girl was kind of obnoxious and other people at school were also complaining about her. And I said, if it's any consolation, I'm completely imitating her on the show. And they went, thank you for that. At least there's that.
I have a friend who her daughter will be 3 this summer. Her daughter's name is Nellie. And
somebody named a kid Nellie. Everybody names their kids Laura and Mary. They name their cat Nellie. Nobody names their kids.
She named her daughter Nellie after her own grandmother, who she said is the sweetest woman she's ever met. This daughter did not get that message.
Oh no,
she is a Nellie Oleson. She is a terror. And I mean, I love this girl. I love this girl. She's
She
gonna do
seems
things. She's
free.
gonna make changes in the world.
She's spirited. She's a
She is.
strong personality. We'll
She
say.
is a very strong personality, and she is going to be the great CEO of a corporation at some
Yeah,
point
yeah.
in her life. I can see it now. But I mean, you've been very open throughout the years about how you got treated after your portrayal of Nellie, and even years after your
Oh my God.
portrayal.
Still.
And still, which is that's hard. That's hard to think about, that people would still have trouble differentiating you
People,
from the character.
oh
But
yeah, they're still scared of me. Some people are still scared of me. It's a thing.
well, I mean, that could be kind of fun to use to your advantage. So,
I do.
but you wrote your book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, which I put on a request from my local library, and it's not here yet. And I'm like, I want it because I want to read it. But you talk in the book about people yelling at you, cursing at you at a young age, even just because of this character that you played.
It hit immediately, right away. I mean, as soon as it aired, people took. And I says, Little House is a very emotional show. People watch it, and they're totally suspending all disbelief. They're not watching it critically, going, "Well, I think Pa, blah 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 blah." When Michael Led did that scene, they're not watching it like that. Like people watch a regular TV show. Oh, that was a really good performance. I like the actress. No, they just went, "This is happening, and this is real, and this is all real, and that's my mother, and that's my father, and I'm going to go live with them in a little house." And they like zoomed, and so Nellie was real. So instead of saying, wow, hey, she must be a pretty good actress, because, wow, that was really terrible. I mean, nobody could really be that terrible. They just went, my God, she's a monster. And I was like feared. People have a little more sense of fantasy reality nowadays. We have social media. People see the actors outside of their characters more often. But still, because people grew up with it, it's imprinted in their little brains years later. So sometimes I'm booked for something, or someone introduces me to someone and it's still in their head, and they're scared to meet me. They're like weirded out because, well, I mean, she was, and people go, wait, she's not like the Erin Murphy, who was Tabitha on Bewitched, who's fantastic, gorgeous, lovely woman, and Charlene Tilton, who was naughty Lucy on Dallas. Friends of mine, and it turned out they were both in Nashville at the time I was doing my show. They came, we took pictures. When Erin put up the pictures and said, yes, that is Charlene Tilton, it was Lucy on Dallas, and Allison, it was Nellie, and neither of them are like their characters. People like, well, those two. And what? And so I have had people over when I got married, my husband just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, November.
Congratulations.
Calls his parents when we decided to get married, and he was the last kid to get married, and they were like, please. So they were like, yeah, he's getting married. Yeah, call the Pope. It's a miracle. So they were so excited he was getting married. And then they said, what does she do? She's an actress. Oh, she'd been in anything we would have seen. And he says, Little House Prairie. And they go, who'd she play? And he says, Nellie Oleson. And it was like the line went dead. There's complete silence. And finally, his poor father gets up the nerve and says, oh, she's not like she was on the show, is she? Because my husband's like, yeah, she's horrible. That's why I'm marrying her. What is wrong with you? Literally, people like into my real life, where literally my husband's telling his parents he's getting married, and they're like, ew. I mean, it's like, okay, the nieces and nephews were the funniest, though, because they were watching the show, and they didn't know it wasn't new. They didn't know when it was shot. It's the 1800s. Who knows when it was shot?
Right.
And my brother and sister-in-law said, wonderful news, Uncle Bob's getting married. We're going to go to Uncle Bob's wedding in California. Oh, yay. And he's marrying the lady who is Nellie Oleson. They go, Uncle Bob can't marry Nellie Oleson. We just saw her the other day. She's like 14. It really gets in people's heads. And I've had there are people who are still terribly intimidated and terribly frightened of me. And I'll see comments on Facebook. There's all the normal people go, oh, I hated her so. But, she was good. Yeah, I hated her because. And then someone will go, no, I don't want to read anything about Nellie Oleson. I didn't like her then, and I don't like her now. People are like, y'all know it's a show, right?
Oh, boy.
They're scared. Still scared of me now. It's hilarious because I'm like the least scary person in the world.
Oh my goodness. So what else can people find in your book, and where honestly is the best place for them to get it?
Oh gosh, all the online, the Amazon, the Barnes and Noble and stuff. It's kind of everywhere. Or you can go to my website. I have a store, of course. I have a online store.
Is it a mercantile?
But right, Bonnet Head Square. You go to bonnetheads.com is my website, and it's Bonnet Head Squares, the whole square site. And I'm selling it. Of course, you buy it from me. I'll autograph it and ship it to you.
Ooh.
Tell me who you want it set assigned to. But you can go on Amazon. You can get it in Kindle and get great in Kindle, and it's great in paperback. You can get the audio book. You can download. It's all over the place, so you can listen to it. And yes, I read it. And it's great. So you can totally. My friends who read the book said I could hear your voice in my head, and then when you recorded the audiobook, it sounded exactly the same. Like all the inflections, of like, yeah, nailed it. So yeah, you can read it, you can Kindle it, you can listen to it. Yeah, what you can do whatever you want. It's everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So we had talked about the 50th anniversary and the special,
Wherever.
event that you guys had in March. We actually recently got to talk to Dean Butler, who,
Yes.
for those who don't know, and I'd be amazed if they didn't know, was the lovely Almanzo Wilder in the later season.
Almanzo. Now this is the hot debate because it's really Almanzo, as in manly, but on the show we called him Almanzo, and it's kind of stuck.
It has. So we talked to him a little bit about how the kids were treated on set during filming, and he came in as an adult, so his experience was definitely different. But he was impressed with how well the kids were treated, how Michael made sure that things were on the up and up and things were wonderful on set. But I know that there had been rumors in the past about interpersonal relationships on the set. What was it like for you on set?
It was great. It really was. A lot of our older now ex-child stars have said getting on Little House was like winning the child star lottery because you were actually treated decently. They were very strict about the hours in the school because there's a lot of people cheating and being flaky all over the place. I know people, it's like, I know you had a work permit and I know somebody at your school had to sign it every 6 months that you weren't flunking. How come you can like not really read what happened? And that's the thing, is people cheated and they start, no, not a Little House. Oh, you had to have your grades up and you had the 3 hours school and the 4 hours work, and we had the welfare workers would come with the stopwatch and go, this child has 20 more minutes of school, and they go like Russia. I mean, oh yeah, none of that nonsense. So we were very strict about how much long we could work and how much school we had, and he really was into that. Like his own kids, when he had Mike Jr. and Leslie Landon, who played Etta Plum, they could be on the show, they could come to the set, but they had to maintain a certain grade point average. And then they could go to tennis camp or they could be on Little House. Those are like the choices. But if their grades, God forbid they didn't have the grade average, it's like, no, you're not coming down. You're not doing anything. You're going to go to summer school. So, I mean, there was a mindset coming down from the top that going to school might be important, which not everyone had. And he treated us very respectfully. We were treated as actors. We were doing a real grown-up actor's job. And as he said, they're not little trained animals, for God's sake. We were real actors, and he knew that, and he treated us. Now, we were held in a very high standard. You really had to show up and put up on Little House. You couldn't slack. You'd get in trouble. But because of that, we were treated as responsible actor people who were putting in a performance and not stupid and expected to account for ourselves and do our job, which is probably maybe harder than being on another show. But it meant we were treated respectfully, and you'll see that people from Little House all have quite high self-esteem compared to some of the other kids who haven't done as well, or as I like to say, cast a Little House, no arrests, no convictions. We're very proud. You don't see us on TMZ. You ever see anybody from Little House on TMZ with no pants? No, you have not. You have not. We were taught work ethic and respect, and yes sir, no sir, yes sir, yes Michael sir. Yeah, that's what you do.
That's good. So going from those experiences too, though, and then the way that you were treated post being Nellie, that's actually led you in some interesting paths later on in your life, including being the president of the board of directors of the National Association of Protect Children, which is an amazing organization that is fantastic. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners about the association and how they can get involved to help make a change?
You can go online to protect.org and check us out. We've done so many different things. We do crazy stuff because we started doing stuff like legislatively, which not everyone was doing. They're saying we're going to fight child abuse, but we said, yeah, we're going to protect us. We got this plan. We're going to go to D.C. and we're going to go to the State House and we're going to actually change laws to better protect victims. And I'm like, really? I'm into that. Let's sign me up. And I wound up testifying in Sacramento and in Albany, and we changed laws. And we also got more, which was really crazy, funding for law enforcement, because there are specialized teams of police, the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, the ICAC teams. And these are the ones who have the child abuse images, the trafficking of children. These are the cops who go after that. And we actually got them more advanced technology to make we actually went and worked with people who create this stuff and created technology to make their jobs easier because of the people encrypting things so that they could catch them. We actually got them more funding for their ICAC programs in different states so that they could apprehend more people. We actually trained people to go and work for them to give them more manpower. I mean, who does this? Nobody does this. And we changed laws. It's incredible. We're still doing all kinds of crazy stuff now. Like, what about companies, corporations that are having trouble with child sexual abuse images being put on their servers, dealing with that sort of thing? And dealing with these kind of laws. And then the education thing. Okay, so all the kids started going to school online during the pandemic, which is great. Except, yay, where are all the weirdos and predators hanging out?
Right.
They're online. Yeah. So how do we get people to understand how dangerous this is and how to protect their children? What can we do to create educational programs that aren't as easily, invaded by predators, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So we're just kind of all over everything.
I love that. I am definitely going to be looking more into the association, because it's a huge thing, and so many times people, like you said, we're gonna change things, we're gonna make things better, and then they're all words. They don't actually go and do the things. You guys have gone and done.
They wanted to get into the laws because they saw at the time there's this huge, I mean, still in some states, you got to bust this exception where if it was their own kid, they could get less jail time or no jail time. The kid next door, it's 20 years. It's your own kid. You're free to go. What? And that was the promises law. And people were doing something. Why they started this, they saw a group of various lawyers and prosecutors and attorney generals. Those were the kind of people who were founding this, said, we pursued the case, we investigated the case, we caught the guy, we arrested the guy, it went to trial, he was convicted, and for some reason he's out now and has custody. The kid went home with it. What? But you said he admitted he did it and was convicted. Yes. And then they let him go. Why? Because it was the dad. Wait, what? And we said that's a bad idea and that shouldn't happen. Maybe there should be different laws for that. So yeah, we're stuff like that. We kind of go in the little chinks in things that aren't getting filled that other people aren't doing. We try to look for the stuff the other people aren't doing and see if we can't fix that.
I absolutely love that.
It's very fun.
I told my family, because, like I said, big fans of Little House. And so when I told my family, hey, I get to talk to Nellie Oleson, oh my word, the complete excitement was just fantastic. My mom had 9 or 10 questions that I've kind of combined into other questions.
Hit me, yes.
But I have a couple of questions from my mom and from my sister-in-law that I would like to ask on their behalf. So
they weren't scared, because I once had a kindergarten teacher who came to a Little House event, and she told her class where she was going, but when she got to the part about me being there, they said, "Don't go. It's not safe. It's a trap." So help your family get worried.
No, they understand that Nellie's a character, and it'll be okay. But my mom wanted to know what's fueling your passion these days.
Oh, so much. Because, the pandemic had quite an effect on me. I had friends get very sick. A couple people died. It was pretty bad. Couldn't live out. Everything I was doing stopped. I just gotten all my merch and photos ready to go for a bunch of events. And then I was like, no. And I was sitting in the middle of a bunch of stuff, what am I going to do? And my husband, Bob, said, you'll think of something. You always think of something. I went, well, you're no help. And of course, then I did. I started reading online. I wound up doing shows online and all the stuff online, which opened up a whole new world for me. So now I'm thinking about this cooking channel and the cookbook I'm writing and all of this. And then my show, because the 50th is just called everyone to go crazy. I've been doing my stand-up tour, and my shows in LA, New York, Chicago, Louisville, they're all selling out. So that's fun. Mm-hmm. So now I'm looking at what can I do more things with the show? What more craziness can I do with that? And then now everyone, of course, has products and tie-ins and social media. So now I'm looking to vastly expand my social. I am already on, I have a website and a store, and I'm on Instagram, but I'm looking to expand the whole social media thing, because that's just everybody does nowadays. There's so much to do. I'm just absolutely swamped getting this all. I just got back Tuesday night. But to be a 62-year-old ex-child star in this world, a woman in Hollywood is 62, and be this busy and doing this much stuff and this much new stuff and having to come up with what's the next thing I'm doing is absolutely astounding. That's not normally how it goes, and I'm really glad that that's how it's going for me.
I have to say, though, the irony of you having a cooking show and a cookbook
Exactly.
is so beautiful.
That's why I'm doing it. Because, okay, Nellie couldn't cook. It's very sad. Nellie couldn't cook. I can cook. I've been cooking since I was a kid. Yeah, she had a restaurant. She couldn't cook. First of all, I teach her to cook. I can cook. I've been making home meals since I was like 8, 9 years old. I used to bake all the cakes for birthdays since I was 10. I cook. I love to cook. I make great things. I've been published in a couple of cookbooks. I've had my recipes. So it's like, of course, but it was always very funny. This was a running joke because as an adult, people would come to dinner and go, are we ordering in? In the show and go, she's cooking. Yes, and my friends go, oh, for God's sake, she can cook. So then I thought, perfect. So my YouTube channel is called Who's Going to Do the Cooking with Allison Arngrim. And that was the thing. I started doing these cooking things online and everyone tuned in. And I said, my whole thing is, you think you can't cook. Maybe Percival can't come to your house and teach you, but it's actually easier than you think. Here are simple things that like even Nellie could make, really.
I love that so much. So then my sister-in-law, Cecilia, wanted to know what your favorite Nellie villain moment is and how you think the rest of Nellie's life went after she and Percival moved to New York.
Oh, excellent. Well, gosh, there's so many. Obviously, the pretending to be paralyzed thing was really good and good. That was just like, what the heck? There's some real. The Cheaters episode is one of my favorites when I'm trying to get Andy Garvey to steal the test answers and cheat on everything. Because when I tell him, he's asking me do you know why I get such good grades? And I cheat. And she's so matter of fact. And when he says, I thought you studied, they go, who can remember all of these things? It clutters the mind. I remember I died of laughter when I read it. It clutters the mind. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Then there's the episode, The Music Box, where I pick on the stuttering girl, and I call that the episode where I hate me. Because that was yeah. Picking on stutterers. I had to go to speech class when I was a kid, that the lisp thing was a little kid. My friends were all the stutterers and the stammerers. What am I going to do? I'm going to seriously pick on a stuttering girl. Get out of here. So I remember going, ooh, it's a bit much. But I did it. I did it anyway. Nellie and Percival were running the store. They went there because his dad died, so he had to run the store with his mom. And actually, Pam Marie-Lance, the beautiful Sarah Carter from the show, you know, Sarah Carter in that episode where I come back says to Nellie, oh, I should do an article about your whole life in New York with the store. I'll interview you later. We go, yes. And then it's like never mentioned or addressed again. She said, what if we do that? What if we do that for like the 50th? I do like a little newspaper article and I interview you and we pretend do it. So we did it. So yes, I believe Nellie and Percival are very successfully running his father's store. Percival, being Percival, is introducing all sorts of modern methods of accounting and marketing and rearranging everything. And his mother's not too sure about it. Some of their elderly customers, because many of them are Orthodox Jewish older men like his dad, are very set in their ways and not sure about all this newfangled stuff. But he's managing to keep all their traditional products on the shelves for his older customers, but he's rearranging things and bringing in lots of new products that all these young people in New York are buying and trying to modernize all of their accounting methods to keep up with things, which is a great relief for his mother because the store is totally making money. And Nellie's talking about, you know, this new subway they're building in New York. They just started one, saying these trains are going to take everyone everywhere underground. It's going to be amazing. And then, of course, Benny and Jenny, they're in school now, and it's a little difficult because remember they decided that Benjamin would be Jewish and Jenny would be Christian. So they're sending them to public school and letting them work it out. As they're not going to send them to religious schools because it would separate them. So
I love that so much.
All of this over coffee and went, yeah, that's probably what's happening.
I absolutely love that so much. So talking about Percival, that actually leads right into my last question. And your dear friend and co-star Steve Tracy, who passed away due to complications from AIDS at the young age of 34, which is
I mean, how old are you?
Heartbreaking.
How old are you? You said you're like 30.
I'll be 32 this summer.
Right. So how young is that? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking. But since then, you've fought on behalf of those living with complications of HIV and AIDS. So can you talk a little more with me about, again, how you got into this, how people can continue to help fight AIDS in 2024.
He went public with his diagnosis in '86. People didn't do that. It was a huge deal. So people are calling me like, oh, do you know? And you're asking Nellie Oleson medical questions. I'm like, guys, call a doctor about that? Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
And it was so crazy because people were desperate. They were desperate. It was 1986. They thought they were going to get it off a doorknob. We didn't know. And so I wound up volunteering for APLA, AIDS Project Los Angeles. And I took the hotline training, and I was on the speakers bureau, the hotline, the thing, and the food bag. I did everything. Because Steve, his mom and his sister flew out to take care of him. He had friends. He had family. His family supported him. His friends supported him. He had a good doctor. But other people didn't. They didn't have a good doctor. They didn't have a mom who cared about them and came out. They had nothing going. So AIDS Project Los Angeles and LA, Gay Men's Health Crisis New York, they take care of these people. So I did everything I could to help all the other people. We're not as fortunate as Steve, and have the information to be able to answer all these questions people had and get this information out there. And we're still doing it. Thank God. We have the cocktail now. We have all these drugs that are keeping people alive for just decades. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And Steve, it was like strictly experimental drug trials. It was like,
right.
So now there's that, but people still have HIV and AIDS, and some people are sick. And, there are people, the cocktail doesn't work on them. They said there'll be a small percentage of people, just the new drugs won't work, and they'll still get bad. And then there's people who have to get their hands on the drugs. We now have drugs people can take and not catch HIV as much, can severely lower their risk of spreading it. But they have to go get them, and they have to have a doctor explain how they work. So there are people all over the country who do this and are still helping people with HIV and AIDS. And I still help these organizations all over the country.
Oh, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And it is so hard looking back at the AIDS crisis, especially in the 80s and the early 90s. And it was terrifying to people. They had...
You caught it, you just kind of died. They used to give people 9 months to live.
Yeah. And there was so little known about it since it was such a new illness. And it was we don't know what to do with this. So we don't know how to help. It's just yeah.
Steve was so right. Steve was on an there was not even AZT when he got sick. This is how bad. He was on an experimental drug, and he was doing these injections. And I remember at the time saying, "Ooh, is this hurt?" He goes, "Oh, it hurt. It's terrible." Some people dropped out of the trial because it hurt too much. And I'm like, that doesn't bother you? He said, no. He was very tough. He's like, no, it doesn't bother me. And I said, is it going to work? And he said, oh, no. I said, I'm sorry. And he said, oh, it's too late for me. I said, I beg your pardon. He said, it's too late for me. I'm doing this drug trial to let them experiment on me so that they can save someone else after I'm gone. Because that's what Steve Tracy Percival was like.
Yeah. Oh, that's so hard. Oh my goodness. I'm going to cry about that one. Wow.
That's the kind of man. When you see Percival, when you see the character Percival, you get that. You see, he was like, I'm going to do the right thing. This is what's right. And this is what's wrong. And this is what, that was the kind of guy he was.
That's amazing. So, Allison, we've come to our last question, and typically we do a silly question because, especially on a night like this, well, that was a little bit of a heavy topic. We typically ask people what their favorite dinosaur is. I kind of feel like I want to switch it up tonight for you. Ringlets, yes or no?
Oh, ringlets, no. Also no, and I don't know, Tyrannosaurus. God, I would rather be in a room with a velociraptor than deal with the freaking ring. Those things. So they made a wig, thank God, because my hair would not stay curled. So they brought in Ziggy Geike, the wig maker to the stars. Mm-hmm. It's all very complicated, but they made that wig, so my hair stayed perfect. Going down hills in wheelchairs, everything. But It was the most uncomfortable thing. There's a metal comb in here because it's got to stay on, right? So there's a big metal comb that jams in here. So you're eternally surprised. And then 8 million hairpins, and it just hurts all day. And I guess I said, why were you so mean? Because my head hurt.
It hurt so bad.
It was awful. So yeah, the ringlets, and then you can do them. I slept in curlers and had them done by hand. What a pain. You got to sleep in curlers with the rags, and it takes a lot of hairspray. You've got curly hair. I
do. I have naturally curly hair.
You could do ringlets like that. Basically, you just separate out and comb it into the shape. Look at the ringlets. So it was excruciating of ringlets. Notice it's not my hair. After I'm like, la, 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 la. I hate ringlets. No, I will never. If I grow my hair out, I'd never do that again. I do wear a fake wig effect sometimes in my stand-up show, like, boo-ha-ha, I'm in the wig. But no, ringlets are terrible. My favorite dinosaur, I'm not sure. When I was a kid, I always liked the big ones. They called it the Brontosaurus, and they say that's not its name anymore. It's not a Brontosaurus.
Brachiosaurus now.
It's a Brachiosaurus. That's right. And it's hard not to love Tyrannosaurus Rex because the little arms. And rawr, rawr, but he has these little tiny arms. He can't grab you. How can he eat you? You can outrun him.
He's tiny arms. Yeah, exactly.
You can't. Yeah, what's he going to do to you? So, you know.
Oh my goodness. Allison, I have enjoyed talking to you so much tonight. Where can our viewers and our listeners go to find out more about you and your work?
Come to my website, bonnetheads.com, and there's going to be like new website, new social media. But I'm at Arngrim on Instagram. I'm Allison Arngrim on Facebook with a blue check. Oh, God. We have Little House Imposters now. Nobody wanted to be us, but now it's the 50th anniversary. Everyone wants to be us. There's like fake Dean, fake Linwood, fake me. So I have a blue check. If it's not a blue check, it ain't me. So there's a real Allison Arngrim on Facebook. There's bonnetheads.com. I'm on everything. You can look me up. There's a store. And if you send an email to Loose Gravel Prod for productions, Loose Gravel Prod at AOL, you can get the Nellie newsletter and know everything.
Ooh. I love that. Well, we are definitely going to link your socials, your website, all of that, so that everybody can find you. We're going to link your book too, as well.
Please, thank you.
Because people need to enjoy the real you, not the Nellie Oleson, the real you, because you are
so much amazing. That's why I have to have the newsletter. I got a movie coming out. I got 2 podcasts. I got the podcast with Dean. I got the Allison Arngrim show. I got a movie, Buster Brooks, coming out this year. I'm swamped. You have to get my newsletter. I read my newsletter to know where I am.
You know, I think I need a newsletter too. Yeah, my Google Calendar is insane. It's color-coded because I would never remember where I'm going. Calendar
is with the solid mass. It's just black.
Yep. Oh, goodness. Well, we will definitely link all of those in the description. And I want to remind our viewers that subscribing is the most important thing you can do to get more amazing guests like Allison here. This has been fantastic. This is like a dream come true for me. And the funny moments that you guys can listen to. So please subscribe. It helps more than you know. And be sure to check out Allison's work, her YouTube channel, her podcasts. You're just everywhere. Just absolutely everywhere. I love it. I love it. So Allison, thank you so much again for being on the show with me tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone, that is our show. So goodbye.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.